LaGuardia Airport for the NTSB news conference.
John DeLue. He is a new board member with the National Transportation Safety Board, and he's here on his training launch. To my right is Doug Brazy. Doug is our investigator in charge, or IIC, as we refer to the investigator in charge. Again, he's a senior aviation accident investigator that has been with the board for 34 years. So today, as I mentioned yesterday, today's our full first day on scene, and we have a lot to cover. In fact, we started the morning with a 2-hour meeting just to organize our investigative groups and walk through what we needed to accomplish today. Fortunately, the entire NTSB team has arrived. Like I said yesterday, we had significant delays with investigators getting here due to backups of TSA lines, and in fact, I understand that this press conference had to move because the lines were actually wrapping around the building. But I do have a lot of investigative information to share today. First, as I mentioned yesterday, we were able to take possession of the cockpit voice recorder and the flight data recorder. That was at 9:57 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Our local investigator, had immediately began a trip down to our headquarters in Washington, D.C. to take the CVR and FDR to our labs for downloading and for analysis. We do have some preliminary information to share from the final 3 minutes of from the cockpit voice recorder. And again, I just want to say it's preliminary and is subject to change, and for that, I'm going to turn that piece over to Doug Brazy.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. The airplane was equipped with an Akron Aviation Model Survivor 2.5 cockpit voice recorder and an Akron Aviation Model FA2100 flight data recorder. The cockpit voice recorder contained more than 25 hours of good quality audio across 4 separate channels. The flight data recorder contained approximately 80 hours of data and recorded more than 400 parameters. The NTSB will convene a cockpit voice recorder group scheduled for tomorrow at the NTSB headquarters in Washington, D.C. to review the accident flight recording and produce a written transcript. The following is a summary of events captured on the cockpit voice recorder during the final 3 minutes of the recording. All times are referenced to the end of the CVR recording. 3 minutes and 7 seconds prior to the end of the recording, the approach controller instructed the airplane to contact LaGuardia Tower. At 2 minutes and 45 seconds, the flight crew lowered the landing gear. At 2 minutes and 22 seconds, the flight crew checked in with the LaGuardia Tower. At 2 minutes and 17 seconds, the LaGuardia Tower cleared the airplane to land on runway 4 and advised that they were number 2 for landing. At time 1 minute and 52 seconds, the flight crew set the flaps to 30 degrees. At 1 minute and 33 seconds, the flight crew set the flaps to 45 degrees. At 1 minute and 26 seconds, an electronic 1,000 call-out occurred from the enhanced ground proximity warning system, indicating that the airplane was 1,000 feet above the ground. At 1 minute and 12 seconds, the flight crew confirmed that the landing checklist was complete. At 1 minute and 3 seconds, an airport vehicle made a radio transmission to the tower, but that transmission was stepped on by another radio transmission, and the source of who made that transmission has yet to be identified. At 54 seconds, the flight crew acknowledged that the airplane was 500 feet above the ground and on a stable approach. At 40 seconds, the LaGuardia Tower asked which vehicle needed to cross a runway. At 28 seconds, Truck 1 made a radio transmission to the tower. At 26 seconds, The tower acknowledged that radio transmission. At 25 seconds, Truck 1 requested to cross runway 4 at taxiway Delta. At 20 seconds, the tower cleared Truck 1 and company to cross runway 4 at taxiway Delta. At 19 seconds, an electronic 100 enhanced ground proximity warning system callout occurred. At 17 seconds, Truck 1 read back the runway crossing clearance. At 14 seconds, an electronic 50 callout. At 12 seconds, an electronic 30 callout. And at that same time, the tower instructed a Frontier Airlines flight to hold position. At 11 seconds, an electronic 20 callout occurred. And at 10 seconds, an electronic 10 callout occurred. At 9 seconds, the tower instructed Truck 1 to stop. At 8 seconds, there was a sound consistent with the airplane's landing gear touching down on the runway. At 6 seconds, there was a pilot transfer of controls from one pilot to the other. And at 4 seconds, the tower again instructed Truck 1 to stop. At 0 seconds, the recording ended. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman.
Mr. Brazy had mentioned that 6 seconds before the end of the recording, the pilot transferred controls. We do know that the first officer was flying and transferred control to the captain. With respect to aircraft rescue and firefighting operations, we will be developing a timeline of events. We do know that they were responding to a United Airlines flight 2384 at the gate, which had 2 aborted takeoffs, and the ARF, or the Aircraft Rescue and Firefighters, had received information that there were fumes or smoke or some sort of smell in the cabin, so they were en route to address that. Truck 1, which Mr. Brazy had mentioned, had collided with the aircraft. We do know that there were other vehicles behind Truck 1, which did not begin to cross the runway. We have seen varying information about how many vehicles, so we need to verify that information, and we'll provide it at a later time. Truck 1, however, did not have a transponder. With respect to air traffic control, we have seen different information about how many certified professional controllers were in the facility, and we need to verify that starting with interviews this afternoon. We'll begin to interview the local controller at 4 o'clock this afternoon. We do have logs, but there's also conflicting information, including dates and times on the logs. So now we have to go through that and rectify some of those inconsistencies. We do, however, know that there were 2 people in the cab, 2 people in the tower cab at the time of collision: the local controller and the controller in charge. Again, local controller and controller in charge. For those who may be watching and aren't familiar with aviation, the local controller manages active runways and the immediate airspace surrounding the airport. That local controller had signed on at 10:45, and the shift would have ended at 6:45 a.m. That doesn't mean that he was in position at 10:45, but that he had just signed in at 10:45 p.m. The controller in charge is responsible for safety of operations, all safety of operations. He had clocked in or signed in at 10:30 p.m., and that shift would have ended at 6:30 a.m. Again, that was signing in at 10:30 p.m. The controller in charge was also doing the duties of the clearance delivery position. The clearance delivery controller provides pilots with their departure clearance. It is not clear who was conducting the duties of the ground controller. We have conflicting information. We have some information saying it was the controller in charge. We have some information saying it was the local controller. The ground controller duties are that they manage all aircraft and vehicle movements on the taxiways, and that generally excludes active runways.
All right, we are going to briefly dip out of.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.